Good evening and welcome to the Township of South Glengarry's public meeting, 6:30 p.m. Can I get a mover and seconder to open the meeting? Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. The meeting is opened at 6:26. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Bougie, seconded by, I guess, Councillor McDonnell. That the agenda be accepted as presented. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll go into new business. Zoning bylaw 14/2023, Laborian. You're already up here. Excellent. Then we'll go to Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Haley. Before we get started, we have two public meetings this evening for zoning amendments. So I'm going to read required wording under the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and/or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is also known as OLT. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the OLT unless there are reasonable grounds to do so. So our first item on the agenda this evening is known as the Liberal Zoning Bylaw Amendment. This property is located on part of Lot 5, on Lot 5, on Registered Plan 109 in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in the township of South Glengarry, located at 6457 Purcell Road. This is a key map showing the location of the subject property. If you look at the crossroads to the north on the screen, that is the corner, the intersection of Purcell Road and Tyatown Road. The subject property is approximately 24 acres in size. It is developed containing a single detached dwelling, which is serviced by a septic system and a well. We have a few images to show you of the subject property. This is the front view facing the property from Purcell Road. Sorry, and then this is just a notice of the sign that was erected for the proposed zoning amendment. Here's an aerial view. Our aerial view is a little dated. The pool has since been removed, but now you can see the image of the existing structure, and you'll see the backyard is quite vacant, and that's where the proposed unit is going to be located, which I'll explain further. So the purpose of this amendment this evening is to rezone the subject property from residential 1 to residential exception 22 to permit a tertiary or a third dwelling unit on the subject property. All other applicable provisions of zoning bylaw 3809 shall continue to apply. The property owner intends to construct a secondary dwelling unit that will be attached to an existing dwelling. This is permitted as per bylaw 3118. So just to step back for a minute, in 2018, the province of Ontario encouraged municipalities to amend their policies to allow for units to be added to existing properties. So everywhere in South Glengarry, every parcel of property can have a secondary dwelling unit. That unit can either be located within a home or within a detached structure, or it can be a complete second home, providing it's smaller than the primary. It can't be severed because it's considered secondary to the primary. In this particular case, the applicant does intend, as I mentioned, to do an addition to the existing structure, which would conform to the bylaw. However, their goal is to also build another dwelling. If they build the other dwelling, that dwelling would then be located at the back of the property and is proposed to be serviced by a septic system and a well. So we have an image that was provided to us from the applicant's agent, and you'll see at the bottom of the image, this shows where the existing single detached dwelling with the proposed apartment unit. The septic system's in the front yard. You'll see the existing entrance will remain as the same. And if the amendment is approved, a new dwelling unit would be constructed at the back where the entrance would continue, and there would be a proposed septic system to be located at the back to service the new dwelling unit. In order to deem our application complete, we require the applicant to obtain an opinion from a qualified septic designer to ensure that a third dwelling unit can be serviced on the subject property. Goulet Septage was retained. He completed a review and provided a letter to the municipality with the submission with the application that supported the proposed developments. This is really important for us to make sure we have this in the file so that when we're making a recommendation to council, we can be confident that the subject property can be serviced and that it doesn't negatively impact the abutting properties. The subject property is currently designated rural settlement area in the county official plan. It's part of the rural settlement area of Glenwalter, and the proposed amendment conforms to the official plan and the provincial policy statement. To date, we've received no written or verbal comments from members of the public. We did have a couple of inquiries looking for a clarification on the proposed amendment, and the zoning amendment application will be subject to a decision of council. And our goal is to bring a staff report to council in the near future and hopefully the following meeting. So that ends my portion of the presentation, Mr. Mayor. We do have the property owner and her agent here with us this evening that perhaps could provide more information if required. Thank you.
Yes, please proceed. Remember to press the gray button and speak fairly closely if you have any comments to the microphone.
Just to clarify, the purpose of this secondary dwelling would be to keep the family on one property. Lisa has a mother that's quite elderly and needs some close attention. So the apartment that is permitted in the bylaw would be for her, with Lisa living in the main house, and then eventually maybe moving to that secondary dwelling on the hill with perhaps her children taking on the primary house. So it's really just to keep the family closer together on the property that they've been at for the last 60 years. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of members of the public or comments? Any from around the table? No? All right. So now that we've heard from the public, the committee will hear back from administration at a future meeting. I think that's all for the moment, if you want to summarize.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We can move on to the next zoning amendment application. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to zoning bylaw 13, 2023, Corvo McAvoy, or Champagne Chalette. And I forgot to go over in here too that I'd like to remind the committee and public that we speak to the item, and there will be no decision made tonight. If I have to interrupt at any time, it will only be because like we're here to hear you. If a point gets made 2 or 3 times from the same speaker, I'll have to interrupt you procedurally to say the point has been made. So I apologize for my shortness in advance. If the applicants would like to take the table, and we'll go to Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're moving on to the zoning amendment application that is known as Corvo McAvoy. Corvo McAvoy are the former owners of the subject property. They were the owners at the time of the application being filed. However, the property has since been sold, and we would now be dealing with Caitlin Champagne, who's now the new owner as of Friday, I believe. So this property is located on the west half of Part Lot 4, Concession 8, in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry, and it's addressed as 20189 Beaupre Road. We do have a map showing the subject property. You can see the property is quite large. The entire property is outlined in black, and we highlighted the southern portion of the property that's framed in yellow to show the area that's subject to the rezoning. So the subject property is approximately 55 acres in size, and we have that measurement based on our taxation. It is currently developed and contains a single detached dwelling and a few accessory structures. The property is known as Cornerstone Farm, which was a millinery, yarn shop, pantry, and a learning center that was open to the public but has recently closed, and that's because of change of ownership. The purpose of this amendment is to rezone approximately 8.5 acre portion of the subject property from rural to rural exception 20 to permit a proposed full service and turnkey wedding and event venue with options to also permit overnight accommodations on the subject property. We're also proposing to add a new definition to the zoning bylaw. That would be added to Part 2, and this would be a definition to define what accessory accommodation means. It means a building or structure to be used for the purpose of sleeping accommodation on a temporary basis as an accessory use to a primary use on the same lot. Accessory accommodations may include cabins, but does not include recreational vehicles, mobile homes, or camping trailers. There will be proposed general provisions as well that would then define how we would regulate the proposed zoning amendment. I can't read that from here, so I need to refer to my paper. I'm sorry, my eyesight's not that great. So the proposed general visions are as follows: that no accessory accommodation may be established as the primary use on a lot. An accessory accommodation shall be located on the same lot as the primary use to which it is related. The accessory accommodations may include cabins, but does not include recreational vehicles, mobile homes, or camping trailers. The alternative accommodations shall conform to the Ontario Building Code. If plumbing facilities are installed to service the accessory accommodations, they shall be serviced with an approved on-site sewage system as per the Ontario Building Code. And all accessory buildings used for accessory accommodations shall be included in the maximum lot coverage. And all other applicable provisions of zoning bylaw 3809 as amended shall continue to apply. So the full service and turnkey wedding and event venue is proposed to include a new structure to accommodate the events and to convert the existing millinery into a bridal suite. Any new construction or renovations will be required to conform to the Ontario Building Code and may be required to be serviced with a septic system and a well. The area of the subject property that is affected by this amendment is currently zoned rural, which permits a variety of uses, including the following. And I wanted to highlight this because many of our residents don't realize how much they can actually do with their property based on the current zoning. It is quite flexible. So when you're located in the rural zone, you're permitted to have a bed and breakfast. You can have a home industry, a home occupation, or a rural home business. You can also have a variety of agritourism uses. You can currently have alternative accommodations under agritourism, and that is defined. And I won't get into that definition at this time. And of course, you can also have an agricultural use. So the applicant, now the new owner, is planning on creating an open to the public butterfly farm on the subject property. This use is permitted under the current zoning of rural, and therefore an amendment is not required for this use. We're just highlighting this because this is something new that's going to be added to the subject property. We do have a series of photos to show you of the current property. This is from Beaupre Road looking north. You'll see a picture of the sign. I appreciate everyone from the public who has commented on the sign falling down, and I apologize for that. That does happen from time to time. We did have municipal staff out replacing the sign on 2 occasions throughout the 20-day notification period. So thank you for those who have brought that to our attention. This is the entrance of the subject property. And this would be looking up the hill. So you can see the existing dwelling on the left and the proposed bridal suite on the right, which is the former millinery. These are photos of a variety of accessory structures. So we have a proposed equipment building, again, the bridal suite. We also have the proposed butterfly farm, and again, a same photo of the proposed bridal suite. This would show an existing parking area that also could be used and more of a proposed parking area. And this is a photo of the existing detached dwelling, and that's on the left. So there we go. So all abutting property owners were located within 120 meters of the subject property were notified. So I'd like to speak about this a little bit further because we do often receive a lot of inquiries from the public saying, why did we not get a notification but our neighbor did? So whenever we process zoning bylaw amendments, we follow the regulations and rules of the Ontario Planning Act. The Planning Act tells me that I have to notify all abutting property owners within 120 meters. Therefore, basically a circle is drawn around the entire property. We then determine who falls within that 120 meters and a mail-out is completed. We're also obligated to place a notice in a local newspaper. Unfortunately, most of us here probably know that the Glengarry News is no longer a weekly paper for us, so we've had to resort going to the Cornwall Standard Freeholder. We do understand that not everyone would subscribe to the Freeholder given living in this location, but that is the current local paper that we have to advertise in. We also then place a sign on the property. That sign is basically a courtesy. It's not required, but we do so in hopes that it will be more evident to the public as to where the subject property is and what's being proposed. To date, we've received a number of written and verbal comments from members of the public opposing the proposed zoning amendment. And I want the public to realize that all comments received will be carefully considered before making a recommendation to council. The subject property is currently designated rural district in the county official plan. And the zoning amendment application will be a decision of council, and a staff report including a recommendation will be brought to council for a decision in the near future. At this time, when you arrived at the meeting this evening, you had an opportunity to sign in, and there was also comment sheets available to you if you wished to take one. Anyone can also provide comments through the municipal office, either by emailing me directly or dropping comments off, and we would accept your comments up until Friday, November 10th. So please feel free to send any comments our way, and we'll make sure they're placed in the public planning file. At this time, we're going to turn the presentation over to the applicant that will provide more specific information on the proposed project. And I'll change the slides as you give me direction to do so. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I know there's a lot of people here to listen, so I really appreciate everybody coming out, and I appreciate the council listening to this proposed amendment. So, the proposed amendment tonight is to rezone a portion of my property, the 8.5 acres at 20189 Beaupre Road. We are going to be proposing the Butterfly Barn project, which has been presented here tonight by Joanne Haley, which is a full turnkey wedding and event venue with the focus on butterfly conservation. You will see that in the packet that was given to you tonight that there's a table of contents. I'll be going through multiple different points here. Joanne, if you can go over. So you'll see that we'll talk a little bit about us, why it's needed. I'm going to show some maps. We're going to talk about specific venues within the surrounding areas. We're going to talk about the Butterfly Barn building. We're going to talk about the butterfly conservation, the property buildings, the parking, the land and proposed project, venue distances, and then I'll give you a little conclusion towards the end. So, good evening. My name is Caitlin Champagne, and I'm a 28-year-old business owner and entrepreneur who owns and operates Champagne & Co. Events, which is a wedding planning and luxury mobile bar business located in Cornwall, but now located in South Glengarry. My business launched in December 2020, and I've been since running 70-plus weddings over the last 3 years. I've been extremely fortunate to have had the most amazing couples and to do what I love, and running my business has taught me so much, and I've gained a ton of experience, which I believe has led me here today. My husband, Jamie, which he'll put his hand up over here, and I have always had a dream of creating something that would really benefit our community, but also would allow us to live out our own dreams in the country. So fast forward to 2023, and we now reside at the property of 20189 Beaupre Road, was also known as the lovely Cornerstone Farm. So our goal for this project is, of course, to build a full turnkey wedding venue with a focus on the butterfly conservation. We are looking to build the butterfly barn from scratch, and then to utilize, of course, the other buildings on the property for the butterfly conservation, as Joanne has mentioned previously. So I really think it's important to discuss why this wedding venue is needed. The first point I would say is that there is a lack of wedding venues and availability. In the first part, obviously I've run over 70-plus weddings with my wedding planning business, and I have come to notice that there are no white wooden venues in our surrounding areas that are light, airy, and ethereal in style. So I do think that we'd be targeting a whole new market of couples. And then I know that although there are some wedding venues in the area, I personally have experienced clients not being able to be booked for up to 1 to 2 years or can't be booked at all due to availability. Now, of course, this is amazing for all these surrounding venues in our area, but exactly why I believe another wedding venue would only continue in helping keep our couples local. Now, most of my couples have been traveling to get married in the Ottawa Valley or even further to Prince Edward County because there is a wider variety of full turnkey wedding venues available and because they do have more availability. Now, I truly want to keep business local to benefit our local wedding vendors, and I really do want to provide a fresh new experience to our couples. Now, the next point, of course, we talk a lot about full turnkey. So basically, just for anybody that's wondering, full turnkey is anything that is from start to finish where everything is available to you. So for us, we're going to have everything from start to finish, from catering staff included in our venue, bartending services included in our venue, tables, chairs, bar, washroom, ceremony space, cocktail hour space, reception space, and finally, as Joanne has mentioned before, a bridal suite for our couples to utilize and get ready in the morning. So it is a complete one-stop shop. We have some amazing venues in the area, but again, as I've gotten a lot of experience, there are some missing fully functioning washrooms, which then require outhouses to be rented. Others don't fully have accessible kitchens for catering teams. Most require you have to locate your tables, chairs, and other rentals. So this is all an additional workload for a lot of our couples planning their wedding. Now, in my experience, couples of this generation, I'm now booking weddings for 23-year-olds going up to 28, 30, and over and above. And this generation is truly looking for a smooth and simple experience, especially with those busy schedules. Now, this is a known fact by the Wedding Planners Institute of Canada, but it does take up to 300 plus hours for a wedding to be planned, and couples who don't have a wedding planner truly can't allocate that time to having to book and coordinate all of the above, which is why a full turnkey wedding venue is super important. Next reason why I think, oh, sorry, can we go back one more, Joanne? Sorry about that. Okay, next, sorry about that. Okay, so next point of why this venue is needed, of course it's multi-purpose, and I do think it's really community-driven. Now, I think between blending the community, or the butterfly conservation, and the wedding venue, we'll be opening multiple opportunities for the community. We would love to have the opportunity to open up our butterfly conservation on appointment base for locals to be able to come in and see our conservation and see firsthand how we capture, nurture, and geotag our butterflies. Some guests may even be able to be a part of some butterfly releasing if they come at the right time. Our goal is to hopefully be able to host gardening workshops and butterfly conservation workshops, allowing for the community to come in and be a part of this journey with us. This would obviously be pre-scheduled and at a limited capacity. Next point, why this venue is needed. It's definitely a centralized location. Green Valley is extremely central to surrounding towns. It's close to all major highways, which I think is super important to giving easy access for buses and shuttles and cars coming from anywhere. We would not only be a prime location for local couples, but we'd be targeting couples from all over Ontario and Quebec. Lastly, I think why this wedding venue is needed is that it would open a lot of career and co-op opportunities for locals. In a full turnkey wedding venue that requires many helping hands, during a wedding day there are typically 25 to 27 staff members on hand to ensure a successful event. This means servers, bartenders, landscapers, parking lot attendants, venue coordinators, cleaning staff, and not to mention all of the wedding vendors, such as photographers, videographers, officiants, DJs, musicians, catering, florists, wedding planners, wedding coordinators, and many more. That's a lot of jobs that could be given out in the South Glengarry Township. This could also be an amazing opportunity for students looking for co-op hours at our wedding venue to learn the ropes of the event industry, which I think is an amazing opportunity for kids that are growing up in the South Glengarry Township. So this map here is just to show you of actual wedding venues that are turnkey. Now again, turnkey is where everything is provided from start to finish. So if you start from the right, I don't want to not mention the Bonnie Glen because that is a very well-known venue in the area that's located in Alexandria. I personally have run many weddings at the Bonnie Glen. It's an amazing venue. They have everything from start to finish. But again, that is only one turnkey venue that is within our area. The rest of them, the Belvedere is located in Wakefield, Quebec, Chateau Montebello in Montebello, Baintown Ranch in Plantagenet, Adelina Barn Venue in Gatineau, Evermore in Almont, Stonefields Estates in Carleton Place. These are all venues that are still 2 to 3 hours away for all of our couples that are looking to get married within our area. Now, I want to speak a little bit more about the one venue called Stonefields Estates that's located in Carleton Place. This venue is an amazing example of what we are hoping to achieve. I have admired them a lot over the years and have run many weddings at their venue. They are a structured, classy, and full turnkey wedding venue offering an amazing culinary experience and guest experience. They have now become the main staple piece in the Carleton and Beckwith Township. Now, very similarly to the owners of Stonefields, myself and my husband Jamie will be living on the property. This would be our home, it would be our business, and it would be a legacy for our family and our community. Now, I really urge the council to check out Stonefields Estates, and I've attached a link at the bottom. Now, I've posted a couple of pictures just to give some examples. Now, one of my main points that I think is important is just knowing that we're bringing a venue that's never been seen before. There's nothing that looks like this anywhere around here. So I've posted pictures of every single venue that basically just shows that they're all rustic. They're beautiful, but definitely not the white, ethereal vibe that we're going for. So just to talk a little bit about the Butterfly Barn building. So these are just obviously pictures of buildings that we are aspiring to achieve. You can see that this is obviously elegant, it's bright, it's pristine white, and it's very modern look to a French farmhouse. Our goal is to have a capacity of up to 150 guests, but this will all be determined by the proposed building size. Now, ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception will all be held within one location and will include all the amenities. As you can see, this is an enclosed venue that will have obviously the proper materials, that will have everything well insulated. It's inside. We can talk more on that. Next PowerPoint slide is to talk a little bit about the butterfly conservation, which is actually one of my favorite parts of this business. Now, the butterfly conservation is going to be run through
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
It's still the presentation time. You can address it after.
That's fine. We can go in. Excuse me. This is a public meeting, but council runs the meeting. I'm sorry, you have to wait and let the presentation be finished. It's the role of the chair to cut somebody off. I'm bored. Sorry.
And we will allot time into the meeting, so we will have time for that if that's a concern. Please.
May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, so this page is the butterfly conservation. So as I said, this is my favorite part of the Butterfly Barn project. Now, the butterfly conservation is going to be run through one of the existing buildings on the property as discussed, which was also known as the Sugar Shack when it was Cornerstone Farms. We will show photos in a future slide, but this building will now be called the Butterfly B&B. So it'll basically be a little bed and breakfast for our butterflies to thrive. We'll be working closely with the Monarch Watch Conservation, which is an education, conservation, and research program that strives to educate people on the importance of preserving monarch and butterfly community. Not many people know this, but monarchs have become endangered due to the rapid loss of their habitats, which is primarily milkweed. So while working closely with the Monarch Watch program, we will be involved in harvesting milkweed, geotagging and tracking our butterflies, and hopefully providing some education to our community on why it is so important. So next, just to show the property buildings, I know that Joanna's already touched on this, but you will see at the top, that's gonna be our home for my husband and I. We've got a little bit of a storage area. We've got the bridal suite that's gonna be utilized for the morning of, for whether that be the bride or the groomsmen to get ready in. And then, of course, the Butterfly B&B up at the top here. And then we've got our proposed parking. So now, I really want to discuss the parking, as I know that this has been a really important matter in our project. Now, I've taken a lot of experience from other wedding venues that have done this. And just for example, there's one venue that's actually located that I spoke on earlier called Adelina Barn Venue, located in Gatineau, Quebec. They have actually organized it where it is a limited amount of parking spots, and they have made it absolutely mandatory to have transportation booked. So our goal is to only have between 15 to 20 parking spots available, maximum, for vendors and couples. So depending on how many vendors we have, we'll then determine how many parking spots are left for the couple. Now, I've worked with a software, it's called Aisle Planner. What I do with all of my couples for my wedding planning business is you have to actually input all the information about your wedding day in that, and it is provided a month in advance. So for our Butterfly Barn project, these couples are going to have to provide a list of all vehicles and names of guests claiming those parking spots, and that is supposed to be given to us 1 month prior. So whenever they arrive on the day of, our parking attendants are going to take note of who's actually going to be parking on the property. We'll know well in advance so that we're prepared for that. Everybody else is going to have to be on that mandatory transportation that is going to be booked by the couple, and of course will be helped, and we will help facilitate that with them. So that will be working with 417 bus lines, Roxborough bus lines, Tronic limos, any kind of mandatory transportation, we will be working with them hand in hand on that. Now, I do want to mention that this is still our home. We will be residing there, and that we are going to be planning on having a family at this home. So we are taking this extremely seriously. We're not wanting parking on the road. It's unsafe, and I don't disagree that it is dark at night. So we are going to be making sure to have parking attendants included in our venue costs from start to end. One being located at the beginning of the property, making sure that nobody is parking on the road, and making sure that they're being ushered in properly, and that obviously the flow of vehicles arriving is working out properly. And then, of course, a parking attendant that will be located in the actual parking lot to continue the facilitation of that. So next, you'll see, again, just another, it's our land and then the proposed project, which I know Joanne has already mentioned. So, of course, our acreage, and then 8.5 acres of that is where our proposed project is. Next, I just want to show, I've given an exact map of venue distances to the homes that are located in the surrounding areas. Now, this was pulled from the zoning virtual, how would I say that? It was located on the South Glengarry online app that you could check it out. So these should be accurate, but that is what I got directly from the South Glengarry. So finally, in conclusion, multiple things here. I really think this is going to be a huge positive impact on South Glengarry. I really think that it's going to help our community in so many ways. I can see this being a huge staple in South Glengarry and will attract so many couples in town and out of town. I can just imagine so many people coming from all over the place just for their wedding day. Second part, I can assure you that you have two of the most passionate and hardworking owners for this project. I personally love what I do, and I truly care about my couples, and this wedding venue is no different. I really just cannot wait to hopefully build and create a beautiful space where couples can experience the best day of their lives without the stress and without the pressure, in a really new and modern way. And then finally, I know that our community wants it. I know that they need it. And I know that they would thrive by having a full turnkey wedding venue. So with that said, I've gone ahead and printed off multiple letters from wedding vendors, from wedding owners that own bridal businesses, floral shops, you name it. I've gotten letters from 2025 wedding couples and also previous wedding planning clients that I have worked with that is stating that this needs to happen and how beneficial it would be. I can assure you, Council, that once you read them, it will be much more clear as to why the Butterfly Barn deserves this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If you could take the seat there, there might be questions. It's the same process from there. Now, members of the audience or council will probably want to hear from audience. Yes, sir, if you could come up to the lectern, and I'll just, when you do talk, mention your name and your address. I'm just going to let Ms. Haley say something first, though.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to see so many people out here this evening, and we certainly appreciate your comments. So, as the mayor has indicated, it's very important for us to document who's speaking. So please clearly speak your name and address, and we will provide you a few minutes to provide your comments. There may be requirements for me to follow up with you after tonight's meeting to answer all of your questions. So I'll indicate that at the end of your at the end of when you're speaking, if I'll be following up with you or not. So thank you.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Ian Bruce. I live at 20144 Beaupre Road, and I live there with my wife. She was with me, but she left because she was feeling sick. You'll understand later why. We are here tonight in opposition to the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw 3809 of the Township of South Glengarry in respect to the property located at civic address 20189 Beaupre Road. Over the past week, I've sent many of the reasons as to why this bylaw change is detrimental to the good of our street and neighborhood. Items cited include water aquifer limitations. What effect will a commercial enterprise's consumption have on my well as my neighbors? Septic and sewage, that's covered under Ontario building. That's good. It will need to be a large field for the number of people expected. Noise at night and light pollution. Well, that's why we're in the country. Garbage and littering up and down the road and across the nearby properties can be expected because, as anybody can tell you that's been there, it gets windy. It rips down tempos, all sorts of stuff. Parking for how many vehicles? 75? How many patrons can be expected at each event? Figuring on 2 occupants per vehicle, that would be a lot of irregular traffic at all hours of the day and night, road usage that is way beyond the design limitations of having a chipped road surface. When do they plan on having the catering done? Obviously on site. Either way, on-site or delivered, it translates into more traffic. Will there be a liquor license? I just found out, yes, it will. This was not explicitly explained in the notice. If so, how will the inebriated drivers be dealt with? Will the OPP have to revise their staffing levels? If so, who will pay for that? Are the township's bylaw officers ready to work irregular shifts? Again, who will be paying for that? Are the new property owners aware that it is quiet time after 10 p.m.? When has anyone heard of a family gathering, wedding, whatever event wrapping up at 10 o'clock? Are we to expect horn honking on arrival and departure from the guests around the clock? Happens a lot at weddings. We have young families as well as seniors on the road. We do not need people rushing, trying to meet a dead line. Where it really gets personal for my wife and myself is the stress this proposal has brought to our lives. We are both cancer survivors and need to take care of ourselves. What has this proposal done? Our sleep patterns have been upset, and we kind of need to have our sleep due to our compromised immune systems. We are retired and have lived there on Beaupre Road since June 1988, paying our taxes all the way. I commuted to Montreal on a daily basis for over 30 of those years so we could raise our family in a healthy, quiet, rural environment. If we wanted bright lights and noise at night, we would have remained in the city. Many of our neighbors still do long commutes. Should this bylaw pass, the expected drop in property value will hurt our future plans should we have to displace ourselves due to the reduction in our quality of life. Who would want to buy next to an event venue? So, in closing, I have just one question for each member of council. Would you want this event venue in front, back, or beside your property? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to the next speaker, and thank you for lining up. That's very efficient. Just your name and address again,
Yeah.
please.
Hi, my name is Liette Deschambault, and I live directly. I have the property that abuts this property on the west side, 20179 Beaupre Road. Now, this property, like I said, the entire amount of the property abuts ours from one end to the other. I have horses. I am not thrilled to have the fact that there's going to be a 240 people event menu next to me. I have a commercial business. It's Bob T. Tack Shop in Lancaster. It's on a commercial site. This is not a commercial. This sounds like a commercial site business, not a rural one, not a backyard one, not something that you're doing with your house. It's the Bonnie Glen next door to my house. And I was planning to retire there. I enjoy the rural. We live, our entire street is made up of hobby farms and rural and housing, residential housing. I call it the country suburbs. I can't see how having a property of this magnitude, of this type of venue, melds into our neighborhood, because that's what it is. It's in our neighborhood, and we're going to plunk a commercial enterprise in the center of our neighborhood, and you can call it what you want, /RU20. It's a commercial business. Now, from a practical point of view, on the infrastructure, I understand why they would like to have it there, because it is halfway between Highway 401 and the 417. However, I don't know if you're aware, but our exit on Highway 34 is the only exit between Alexandria and Lancaster that has passing lines throughout it. There's a hill at both ends of Beaupre Road on that section, so it makes driving very hazardous. I've been living there for 22 years, and I've seen a few accidents at the end of the year, at the end of the road, or near misses. So the fact that we're going to have buses going up the road is and a lot of traffic is very nerve-wracking, because our road is not made for that kind of traffic. We don't have soft shoulders. There's sections where if you meet a car and you don't drive properly, you're going to fall over and end up with a severe accident. As well, the driveway for this property sits in the middle of two hills. So there's blind spots on both sides. As well, I agree with the water. The water is a really big deal. Like I said, I've been there 22 years. The neighbor to the west of put in a pool 2 years ago, and his well's running dry. So I can't see 240 people, plus bathrooms to have enough water on the property. The other thing with this venue is even though the butterflies is a wonderful thing, I think that part would be fine. However, this will impinge on the wildlife habitat. We have deer, we have turkeys, we have seen bobcat, lynx, since we've been living in that property, as well as the coyotes and all the rest of it that goes with it. So that is a thing too. Now, the other thing for myself personally, what this will affect is that, as I said, I have horses on that property. They graze the entire length of this property. Will there be fireworks? Fireworks scare the crap out of livestock. Will there, the noise for sure, the lights for sure. I have a little riding ring next to my house, between my house and that property. The house on that property, which isn't showing it very well, is actually about 30 to 40 feet from my property line. I usually ride next to it, but it's going to be impossible because if there's this full-grown wedding venue and this entire length of my property, where am I supposed to find a nice, quiet place to ride? I don't ride on Beaupré Road, and my neighbors who have horses will tell you the same thing because the road is dangerous. We can't ride on the weekends. You could ride Sunday morning because people are lazy to get up in the morning. You can ride after the school buses have gone through and before 2 o'clock, 2, 3 in the afternoon. So it's a busy road already, and I can't see how this would enhance anything to our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liette. My name is Julie Bellavance Caron. I live at 19987 Beaupré Road. I'm on the corner of Frog Hollow and Beaupré Road. So I have quite a few concerns: safety, home value decrease, drainage, and the environmental impact. Now let me start about safety. A commercial business on a narrow road is not safe. There are school buses here that do 180-degree turns in our driveways. So the measly 15 or 20 parking spots on the venue is definitely not enough, because other cars, and I know I just had my wedding this summer at my home, and people know that there's not a lot of parking, and there's the people in the evenings or other employees or event people that park on the road because they want to have an easy access and easy out and not have to rely on any other public transportation. Anyway, let me continue. It's going to be interesting when cars are left to be picked up the next day by drunken wedding guests. We have right now a minimum of 2 cars in the ditch every year because the roads are quite narrow and the ditches are deep. And frankly, most of the times these are out-of-towners. So it might just be people coming to visit the venue. They don't know where the ditch starts, so when we are 2 cars going through, oops, there goes another one in the ditch. Add to that just the corner of Beaupré and Frog Hollow is also problematic. It's a major blind spot there, and cars zoom by, as well as our friendly neighborhood 18-wheeler milk truck. I have to open my window to listen if there are any vehicles coming by and just inch my way through that intersection carefully. And I live here. I know this. You can be certain that out-of-towners won't have that reflex, even if it's just to visit the venue. You might want to take notes. If this zoning change goes through, are you ready to have a head-on collision or one accident on your conscience? And the slope towards the 34, what Liette was talking about, at the corner of Beaupré and the 34, is icy in the winter. We slip and slide like a penguin on a holiday. But add extra traffic and boom, another accident. And the bridge up the road on Frog Hollow can only take 1 car. Those that live here know about it, so we slow down, and we're very respectful of each other. But those that don't know just zoom by and don't even realize it. There's not enough adequate lighting or signage on those roads. And with a wedding venue or event, prom parties, I don't know, part of this, it's not going to help. You have these cars also that are part of a procession. The havoc all this traffic will make on our quiet roads. Just think. I have a bit of experience with weddings. I just had mine. My brother was a DJ, and my mother was a florist. She's not doing flowers anymore, and she's 80 years old. Anyway, I just got married this summer at home, and even if this were listed as just for micro weddings of less than 25 people, but now it's 250 people, there's another 15, 20 cars parked per wedding party that is added on when you count the priest, the church staff, the wedding planner, the decorator, the florist, the limo driver, the photographer, the sanitary toilets. Oh, they're going to have toilets. I'll scratch that off. Bar staff, the crew, the tent, the band, the musician, the singers, the wedding, the videographers. Are those people are going to be using the shuttle? Oh, the cake baker, the horse carriage. How safe will that be? It's like adding another 15, 20 people, cars, per wedding. Now, the paper that we received from our friendly neighbor said, weekends only? But when does that weekend start and stop? What about long weekends, holidays? This for events as well. Prom parties, drunk teens. What, is there going to be a sugar shack as well? And student groups? Oh yeah, there's the butterfly thing. Student groups, schools. That's not going to be part of the shuttle, is it? So multiply those numbers again, and there can be more than one wedding event a day. There can be 5 in a weekend. And of course, if these people are parking on the street, then what will my hay tractor do when trying to go through? I guess people don't mind getting their mirrors scraped off by a tractor or a snowplow. June is a very busy month for farms. We have extra large vehicles and tractors and combines going through, as well as milk trucks all year. People that are not from here drive crazily. I even had to intercept a kid last week on a dirt bike going too fast and was going to spook my horse because I was on my side of Beaupre Road. Beaupre Road and Frog Hollow were not made for this type of traffic. We already have plenty of potholes, even with the layer of tar. I was already T-boned once from an out-of-towner, got my car told it was not my fault, and I could have lost my life on December 15th, 4 years ago, because of a distracted driver not from here at the corner of County Road 18 and 34. So it's not just the traffic on Beaupre and Frog Hollow, it's everything coming into there. A block from Beaupre Road. In the middle of the day, and in the middle of the day, not even at night. And the nuisance on my farm animals, I have horses as well as other animals, of cars and vehicles going by through the night with their lights, plus noise pollution, the music, at all hours of the night. I don't consent to a discotheque next to my home. Do you? No one here consents to that. There are plenty of other venues in the area that are on main roads. You could have bought the Vachon farm. We don't need another one. What about water safety? We have to get our water tested every 6 months to make sure there's no E. coli. Hope you do that too. I just dug a hole to put in a post and had water up to 2 feet. How good is your drainage? Look, if you think this goes through, is just a matter of time before a wedding guest gets attacked by a bear or a cougar, fishers, coyotes. I'm not even talking about skunks. I guess I'll need to put a sign up on Frog Hollow so that venue guests are warned to bring bear spray. We even bring in our bird feeders and our hummingbird feeders in the fall and early spring not to attract bears. My neighbor's chicken coop was recently attacked by a bear. And what about the barn owl? Barn owl is listed as endangered at both the provincial Species at Risk in Ontario list and federal Schedule 1 under the Species at Risk Act levels with regards to the eastern population. I've done my homework. We have a program here for the return of the barn owl in eastern Ontario, and these don't take to noise pollution. Add to that, drive at night. There's no street lighting on all of Frog Hollow and Beaupre. It's pitch dark. That doesn't help either. This is for a wedding venue with lodging, so there's no way partygoers won't be keeping the party going until the middle of the night. Sit on any of my neighbor porches on a typical Saturday night and chill. Look up at the stars and enjoy the peace and tranquility. Then, imagine the music and traffic of endless people coming and going. Now my next point, property value. Ain't no way my property will gain value with such a soreness next to us. Yet, it will make it close to impossible. We like quiet here. Look, if Liette plays her music or is cutting down wood next to that property, we all hear it. The noise traces its way back to us as this property is slightly higher than others. Noise is funneled through the slopes and the valley. We hear the train go by in Green Valley, right? So we hear the train go by in Green Valley, but I guess that's fine because my husband likes trains. But the noise is not constant for hours and in the middle of the night. But come on, the wedding march every weekend and celebrate good times. Come on, all the time? Yeah, right. There's a limit. Do you want a discotheque next to your home? I don't. The noise level would be horrendous. We are small farmers, we get up early. How are we going to do that with music blasting till 2 a.m.? Because if it's commercial, there's no bylaw that's stopping them. Peace and quiet is a rare commodity. I work from home right now, and I know. Whether the noise is from amplified sound, vehicles, a piano or a guitar, or 200 to 300 people laughing and talking, that's an unfair burden to put on all of us. Name me 3 people that live on this road that want this venue. Anyone? There aren't any. The subdivision has many families with children. Quality of life is more important than money. This would change our lives forever. This is a matter of right. The project will diminish property values and increase traffic, among other things. This venue changes the status quo and would change the character of our existing neighborhoods. The development may be appropriate somewhere else, but not here. The unanimous view of the people that came today is that we bought homes here because it's a quiet neighborhood. This project, in conjunction with lodging, would be a purely commercial operation that could be open 365 days a year. Why would you force a party venue on all of us? The venue would not be in character with the surrounding area. Once you grant it, what's to say that you can't grant it to all the farms on the property? Now it's just not one place, but 10 more? How are you going to pick and choose? So council, we understand that you may not be engineers, and hopefully this is just a formality because of due process where the people before you tonight are stating the obvious, no zoning change. No wedding event venue with lodging is allowed as the infrastructure does not guarantee the safety and property value and enjoyment of those living on Beaupre and Frog Hollow. But the proponent is welcome to look at other properties that are on a main road where there are no neighbors around. Google it, and right away you will find many areas on a rural road like this that got denied a zoning change. I'll give you examples. Erin, Ontario, Frederick County, Summer County, Emmetsburg, Munchie, Edmonton County, Kent, Wilmington Township, Madison County, Marbletown, Exeter. Took me 5 minutes to get that list. They all got denied the zoning change for a wedding venue. It's quite common, and your job is easy, council. There's plenty of jurisprudence on this, and it's quite easy for you to deny the zoning change on our quiet family farm residential road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, please. if you
Okay,
could
sorry,
clarify.
just my one quick comment, because it was made a few times now about 240 people, but there was nowhere at any point in the presentation or in the presentation a while ago that was said that 240 people would be our allowed, like, our allocated amount of guests. We're looking at up to 150 at the maximum. 150, it's written in the presentation, thank you.
Just order for a second. In the presentation, it did say 150, and all right, please introduce yourself, please. Speak into the microphone and your address as well.
I'm Maureen McGuire. I live directly across the street from said property. I'm a senior citizen, a widow, and children.
Can we just please move it a little closer? I think it's to pick up your
Oh,
microphone.
Okay.
No, you can pull it
Sorry
down.
about that. Oh, thank you.
Better, thank you.
You can tell I'm not used to this. We purchased the property in 2190 Beaupre Road, directly across from said property. It was a perfect location for retirement, a modest building, a short lane, plenty of space to garden and peace. I have been able to maintain the property alone. I plan to remain on Beaupre Road for as long as I can. I love the quiet neighborhood, my independence, and the sense of security I feel in my home. I have submitted a letter to all of all the outlining reasons why I totally am against having a wedding venue next door. They include everything from increased traffic, noise, to the fact that at night, every car coming down the driveway lights up the whole front of my house. So you can imagine what'll happen at 10, if they leave at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll be up all night. I have submitted a letter to all of the outlining reasons why I am totally against having a wedding venue next door. They include everything from increased traffic, noise, to the fact that at night, every car leaving the venue will light up my entire house. Please understand that I'm not against people earning a living, The former owners ran a workshop on their property. People often parked at or turned around in my driveway or used it to take a race up their driveway in the winter because they couldn't get up it. But a good neighbor, I did not like it, but never complained about the inconvenience. The difference with a wedding venue will be that many, many more clients will come there and for all kinds of parties, which the new owner must encourage if they want to be profitable. My property will become ground zero for everyone looking for a place to turn around, park, especially in bad weather. This will be at all hours of the night, which frightens me. We all know that a few drinks never improve anyone's judgment, especially young people who do not always understand the value of respecting private property and keeping the noise down. There are already several locations for wedding venues in Apple Hill, Monroe Mills, the Bonnie Glen, and in Alexandria. I really do not think we need another. Neither do my neighbors, as you can see from the number of signatures on the petition we have submitted and the people gathered here this evening. My neighbors and me have visited every house on Beaupre Road and in the local community to gather opinions. Almost without exception, nobody wants a wedding venue in our neighborhood. I really appreciate my neighbors' support. This change will profoundly affect me. I will no longer feel secure in my own home. I ask you, would you put your mother or grandmother in a situation that would cause her so much stress and fear? I hope not. Please don't ask it of me. Thank you for providing the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much. Again, name and address. Could you please turn could you please turn your mic on? It's the gray button. Perfect.
Oh, testing, 1, 2, 3.
I believe you turned it off again. Just press it once, and when it's red, perfect. You're great right now. You're good.
That's about the third time it's...
Oh, it's actually going off. That's camera.
Okay, now it's staying on. Good. Here we go. My name is Fred Codes. I live at 20199, directly east of the property in question. Directly east of the fence between us is my hayfield. And one of the things that I'm wary of is if you're going to have a lot of people there will be smokers. And if my hayfield is dry, somebody's more than likely to come across to the fence and flick their cigarette. Who's going to be liable for that? The fire department's going to come and send me the bill. The other thing is maybe trespass. There's only a low stone fence in between part of the 8.5 acres. Again, people have spoken about speeding on the road, especially in winter. There's a hill there. Max knows all about it. All you need is people to be lined up to turn into the driveway for the venue, and a resident will have to pass that line. And in the afternoon, we have school buses that are coming west to east. If they're coming up to that hill in the wintertime and there's a big lineup and a resident is trying to pass, and that bus starts down the hill, it's not going to stop in the wintertime. Doesn't matter how good you plow the road. So we're looking at an accident. I already had one person went over the hill in the wintertime and ended up in my hay ditch. Nobody got hurt, but still. We also pick up a lot of trash on that road. Part of it we suspect might be the delivery services, FedEx, UPS, and Purolator. We've noticed a few park on Beaupre Road, and then at lunchtime, and then afterwards, we find containers that could only come from Cornwall. We don't have those types of restaurants that are on the containers. We expect noise from the property, as well as litter over the fence, possibly. We'll have a decrease in value for the properties, and the venue might get a liquor license, but even without a license, the likelihood of liquor at the accommodations will most likely occur, and noise will continue into the night past curfew. The thought of an Airbnb also crossed my mind. The decrease in property values is very likely to occur on my piece of property, being right next door to it. The Cornerstone, the way people were parking, their lights, when they turn on in the evening, go right through my patio door and window. Distracting. So overall, even South Glengarry's little motto there, 55 friendly township, so much for 55 friendly, where residents and farms contribute over 90% of the property tax revenue. Less than 10% for commercial and industrial. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, and this, I guess, will be the last speaker for the evening.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Edward McDonnell. I live in Toronto. I'm delighted to be able to speak to local representatives. You know what happened to our councillors. I don't know if you know what happened to our councillors, but it's very hard to for them to cover the size of area that they have in Toronto. I own 62 acres abutting on Lot 5. So the part that's not going to be an exception, I will abut that. I have a managed forest, as I said, approximately 62 acres, and my goals are to have forest products as a managed forest, environment protection by removing invasive species, and other things such as offering wildlife appreciation by maintaining a central path, which residents have used. It's not restricted. So my management plan is a trust for future generations. And you may know that it covers a natural heritage corridor for wildlife. I have 3 daughters who I've talked to and talked to them about continuing my legacy. I just went over a few provincial policy statements. 1.1.4.1 talks about healthy, integrated, viable rural areas, which should support rural character and leverage rural amenities and assets. I think the comment about we live in a rural, like a rural suburb, was appropriate. It's a beautiful road. I walked on it yesterday. It was a sunny day. There's so many properties next door to each other. It really was a delight. So in many ways, I sympathize with the homeowners. I mean, they have made this a wonderful place to live, and I don't see it compatible to what, for what many years they have provided. So that's what I've seen after spending my day yesterday on the road. So I just want to ask Joanne, if I present my comments, will they be presented to council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, nice to meet you, Mr. McDonnell. We've had several conversations over the last few days. So I would encourage you to submit your comments in writing, and they will be provided to council, so they will have an opportunity to review what your comments are. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. I had said one last speaker. You promise? Okay, come on up.
Right. Okay. So I'm Chantal Dorr, and I live at 20217 Beaupré Road, 3 houses down from the property. I'm not a public speaker, so for me to be up here, for the people that know me, this is like huge. We moved from Montreal 20 years ago for peace and quiet. We've been on Beaupré Road for 15 years now, raising my 5 daughters on this beautiful, quiet suburb. And this is our dream location. This is our quiet place. This is our peace and tranquility, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. A wedding venue is just going to destroy that. I don't want to have to move because I'm going to have the hustle and bustle every weekend from spring till winter, the increased traffic. You pave the road with the whatever that tar stuff, the increased traffic just for people trying to bypass County Road 18 and use our road now as a bypass, there's already that. And then not to mention all the new construction that's happened on the road. I'm not opposed to the new houses being on the road, but the increased trucks and gravel trucks, they're ruining the road. That's why we've got potholes again. The safety is definitely a huge issue. If there's only gonna be certain parking spots, then what, they're gonna be busing people in, the bus is gonna have to park in between these 2 hills. How are they gonna turn around? It's a danger to our kids. It's a danger to our folks that are regular walkers that are walking up and down the road every day. They do it twice a day. The families in the summer. Like, we can't have this. The drunk drivers, we don't need that on our quiet road. We have, what, maybe 100 houses between the 34 and Frog, and I'm saying maybe 100, there's not even that, I'm sure of it. We don't need this kind of increased traffic on our road. That's all.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions given the presentations? Is there any further questions or comments from the applicant?
Am I allowed to address a few things that were brought up, or should we just finish up? Or I'm not sure what I'm allowed to start touching on.
I think your presentation probably had enough, and then we'll put it to administration.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Oh, my computer turned off. 1 moment. So we've received the information, the comments from public and from council. So we will send this to administration, and we'll come back at a future council meeting for a decision. So that concludes the end of this meeting. I guess I have to call adjournment, so I'm going to move over to adjourn. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie. This meeting be adjourned to call of the chair at 7:36. Thank you very much.